We're here. Living the dream or a nightmare, I don't know. Either way. I'm good. Yeah.
Does anything turn on?
I already have it turned on. I just need to open it up and I'll be good to go.
Don't do it. 1 minute. It's going to be one of the first things.
Okay.
Really? Sorry, Reggie, mine.
Meeting will come to order. First order of business, I need to make a motion to name Michael Coleman as acting secretary this evening. Need a motion in a second. So motion by Mr. Hallinan, second by Mr. Stuma. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you.
First order of business, roll call directors, sir.
Mr. Butler. Present. Mr. Coleman, present. Mr. Hallinan. Present. Mr. Holden is not present. Mr. Kranick. Present. Ms. Lavasi.
Present.
Mr. McHale.
Present.
Mr. Suma. Present. And Mr. Morocco. Present. Mr. Marichak.
Present.
Mrs. Lapaka. And Attorney Dempsey is absent.
Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to announce that there was an executive session immediately following the work session on August 17th, 2020, and one just previous to this meeting this evening. We're open for public discussion. Mr. Marichak, I believe you.
Okay, I have some virtual. I'm going to ask if the folks in attendance would like to participate. We'll have them go first, and then I'll go from there.
Okay, anybody from public participation, come up and give your name and address.
Okay, guys? What do you need? Okay, if you want to participate in that, if you want to make a comment. Oh, okay. So what I'm going to do is, for the folks at home, I believe they're seeing that, and some of you can see it. I'm going to read it. I apologize if it's going a little slow for you, but these questions came to our DSD info website, email address, and we asked that they come to us for those who, we can only have 25 people in here. So we try to do it this way to make sure everybody has a chance to have their voice heard. So I'm going to read it. I have a few questions and concerns for the board regarding the preparedness of students returning to the building. The school district has released a COVID screen to be completed prior to arriving for the school day. Can you please explain the process for verifying the screening tool has been completed? What tracking system will be used to verify each system has completed the screen prior to entering the building? Has the school nurse or another faculty member been assigned the responsibility of tracking and in the screening process? What process will be in place for those who fail to complete the screen? Before arriving, all faculty and staff should also complete the screening daily, as transmission from faculty to faculty has the same potential as student and student to faculty transmission. Google Forms may have the functionality to create a spreadsheet with the data in another system that has not already been selected. The success of keeping COVID out of the school will rely heavily on the screening tool. Temperature screening alone will not be sufficient. It would be great to keep COVID out of the building and not to have to spend the incredible amount of time completing the contact tracing. Our response is, I'm in full agreement. We don't want it in the school if we can prevent it. I think they're referring to the self-monitoring tool that we sent out last week. And it's a series of questions that we've been using with our athletes. Do you have a cough? Have you been in a home with somebody or in contact with somebody who has it? There's no checking or verifying this tool for that part of the plan. This is a guide for the students and the families, as well as the staff, to go by before coming to school each day. It's an attempt to have them to slow down, conscientiously say, are any of these things happening in our lives? We really can't do much else in terms of enforcing anything from our perspective. We cannot track the aspect of the screening. We are relying on the family or the individual to be honest and do the right thing. Every student and staff member will be screened temperature-wise upon entry into the school every day. Isolation. An unfortunate event that a student is identified as potentially having COVID symptoms while in the building. What is your process flow for the student to be placed in isolation? Have the isolation rooms in each building been identified, and also what path will the student take to be escorted out of the building from the identified isolation room? What is the process when the suspected person is an employee? What is the plan when the second student is identified as needed isolation while the isolation room is in use or has yet to be cleaned after the first student? What type of air circulation is in the building? Can the isolation room be vented directly outside or have air scrubbers installed as air could potentially escape into the hallway? Have the faculty had a practice drill for a scenario including PPE? Our response: we have identified and or built isolation rooms in both buildings. There's 2 isolation rooms built outside of this cafeteria because our middle school students will come in this way. We have 2 scenarios up in the high school as well as the auditorium if we have a large number and an overflow because we can properly distance there. In the elementary school, I was through it yesterday, we have 2 a little bit larger than booths built, plus another part of the nursing suite that's broken into 2 rooms. So we have them identified, we have the process into place. The student will be escorted directly to the isolation room if their temperature is at or above 100.4, and it would be the isolation room that is closest to the area if it's in the nurse's suite or as they enter the building with the use of our technology. The path of exit depends upon which isolation room the student or staff member had to use. An employee will exit the building under the same protocols. We have protocols in place for at least 24-hour fever-free. If it persists, we're insisting to see a healthcare professional. If the test is positive and so on, all procedures are set forth in the health and safety reopening plan that we went over last 2 weeks ago, as well as on our website. If there are multiple students identified as needing isolation, it will be brought to another area with supervision. We've brought in additional nursing personnel. We have our athletic trainer available who's trained and who's doing this for another organization. The additional areas have been identified in the high school, so on. We have air circulation is the same. We do not have the ability to reroute our ducts and our systems. We have undergone a total overhaul in terms of cleaning of our systems, the HVAC systems this summer. Also, as documented in our health and safety reopening plan, we will be changing out our filters much more frequently. I did get some education. Some of our isolation areas can be vented directly outside. For instance, there's a conference room that's split in 2 with barriers that have windows that we can open up and it can be vented right outside. However, some of the areas cannot be. When I spoke to our maintenance department head here in Morocco, we've had professional development on how to best work with our HVAC systems and vents. They do not research. I was found out that each area, each classroom, this cafeteria, the foyer, each area has its own air handler, which takes the air out of the building. It does not come back into the building. It goes up through the roof I was told that's why anybody who's working on a roof needs to have a mask, because the air goes that way. We will be on 24-hour air ventilation mode. This was recommended to us by the professionals in bringing in fresh air constantly. It's not the most economical way to run the system, but it's one of our best options for areas that we can't open windows. The faculty will undergo best practice scenarios on our true in-service days. We've been going over some training videos, and we'll continue to do that with them. They will not be gearing up in PPE in the event that the area needs to be cleansed. That will be handled by our maintenance department, who again has been trained professionally by a group, and they will be outfitted in gowns, shields, gloves, everything that we have on property and ready to go. Classrooms. In order to have the least amount of movement throughout the day to increase the ease of physical distancing, it would seem prudent to have students remain in the classroom while the teachers move to the different classes. A few teachers switching between classes rather than 100+ students in the hallway will decrease the risk of exposure. Is that the plan for the school year? Yes. Well, all of our elementary classes will be handled in that way, as well as our 7th and 8th grade will be conducted in the fashion described above. We won't allow 100 students in the hallway at any time. Our high school classes will rotate. It just doesn't lend itself with our schedule. There's so many different classes and electives and content areas that each kid is on a different path. We will work to stagger our hallway stairwells and release times to make sure that we are properly distanced. I just want everybody to keep in mind that we will only have half of our students in our buildings each day. We have 1,500 kids, and it's not 100% perfectly symmetrical, but just follow the numbers. We have 1,500 or so students in our building, minus about 370 students who chose our virtual option. That gives us 1,130 students remaining, and if you divide it by 2, because they're coming every other day, we have 565 students in K through 12 in our school day. And if you divide it by 12 grades, again, it's not perfectly symmetrical. It's about 47 students per grade in our schools. I think we can handle our lunches, our transportation, our in-class distancing, and we can certainly much more easily control the flow from the older children from classroom to classroom. Lunches, especially in the middle and high school, it seems like a daunting time of day. There doesn't seem to be enough space to distance the students. Will other students be using the foyer as a thoroughfare during lunch periods? Have lunch periods been extended to accommodate students needing to purchase food? Has there been consideration of leaving early and sending students home with the bag lunches to mitigate the risk? I appreciate your time and effort during the unprecedented times. I know how difficult the task has been. Our response, again, is that if you look at our projected numbers, it's not perfectly symmetrical, but we have measured out our areas, tables, and so on. We have our signage ready to go. We have 4 lunches in the junior, senior high school. We have no problem distancing everyone properly. We have considered as many options as we could think of. The DEC will be extending lunch periods. We don't think sending students home for lunch will work well for us, because then we have to come back in or change our entire schedule. We won't get the education in. I personally feel the 2 days in schools is already very short. I don't want to take any more educational instructional time away. Those questions came from Rebecca DeVito. Good evening. Please clarify below. Please also feel free to ignore the request if somebody's already brought it up. How will children who suffer from seasonal allergies be differentiated from COVID symptoms? Will documentation from their doctor be sufficient, or is an appointment required every time they have a runny nose? We will do our professional best to differentiate these types of issues. Many of us suffer from seasonal allergies. We will err on the side of safety when it comes to the temperature, waiting the 24 hours. I don't believe our nurses will send the child home for a reason of a runny nose. We don't expect the family to be able to get an appointment with a medical professional every time there's a cough or a sneeze. We would ask you to use your best judgment, you know your child best. This is the one main reason for the self-assessment tool that the families would look at, before the school each day. What will the drop-off pickup plan entail? I've sent that out today. As you know, from the previous years, there's a struggle, but now with the larger portion of parents not utilizing buses, there will be more jams and risks in reference to safety. Will there be additional parking for those who have younger children, say kindergarten, that will allow them to meet for the pickup? We've asked families to use alternative modes of transportation to avoid crowded school buses wherever possible. We have fully anticipated that we need to coordinate our drop-off and pickup situations. Go through the numbers again. We're going to have less people on campus than we've ever had. We do have, in conjunction with our SROs in the Dunmore Police Department, we're going to have a one-way traffic flow. Enter from West Warren, exit on Quincy. We will still be able to use the parking lot for kindergarten, and that should help us. And we have the personnel to make sure that it flows properly with the police. That's from Stacy Stavinsky. Good afternoon. Thank you for your work and everything. The reopening plan. I have a question in regards to the start of school. Thank you in advance, Laura Mills. Traffic pattern, I think we just talked about. They will be able to use the kindergarten parking lot as they always have. Also, I understand and agree with the fact that parents are not allowed in the school in order to limit the amount of people and exposure. However, as a parent of a younger student, I'm curious if there will be any way for the parents to actually see the classroom and its setup. Perhaps through video Zoom with teachers in the first few days will also allow parents to have an understanding of what type of environment their students are in on the days they are in school, and allow the parents to help the students navigate and understand what is right, what is the right way to behave in those spaces. It's a great idea. The staff of kindergarten, Mr. Quinn and Mrs. Kindle, have already put today a video on the DEC website. They introduced themselves, they show the cafeteria, they show the ramp, but tomorrow I think they said they're going to be able to put the classroom in there so everybody can see it. I think that's a great idea. I mean, sometimes we just forget how young these children are. So that's our public participation for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Marichek. On to the motions. Motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting from July 29th, 2020. Motion by Mr. Kranek. Second by Mr. Coleman.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Motion to have permission be granted to the following for the use of district facilities or equipment. Montana Amusement Company to operate a concession trailer, provided conditions allow. The use of Dunmore or district facilities is subject to the conditions established by the Dunmore School District, and may not conflict with any regular scheduled activity. Motion by Ms. Labasi,
So moved.
second by Mr. Suma.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Motion to enter into a fee agreement with Shore, Frederico, and Stanton, PA, Douglas R. Bean, PA, and O'Donnell Law Office to join a lawsuit against Jewel Labs for the terms of the contingent fee retainer agreement, which is attached. Motion by Mr. Morocco.
So moved.
Second by Mr. Butler.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Mayor, you want to explain that for a second?
Yeah, this came to us via our solicitor, Mr. Dempsey, and to the best of my understanding is that there will be a class action suit put forth to the Jewel Corporation, very similar to like we had several years ago with Big Tobacco. And they, if they're found guilty and have some damages, the school district may be able to share in those damages and use for some cessation programs, signage and things like that to make sure that our kids are not juuling or vaping or whatever the proper term is today.
The next motion, personnel. Motion to accept the personnel reports. Motion by Mr. Hallahan. So moved. Second by Mr. Kranek.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve the list of bus drivers for the 2020-2021 school year, which is attached. Motion by Mr. Coleman.
So moved.
Second by Ms. Labasi.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Motion C. Motion to appoint Chris Lucas, Assistant Principal for the Junior Senior High School, effective date immediately. Terms are defined in the Act 93 agreement. Motion by Mr. Suma.
So moved.
Second by Mr. Morocco.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Motion to appoint Carolyn Gentile, instructional aide, effective date August 24th, 2020. Terms are defined in the agreement with the Dunmore Educational Support Personnel Association. Motion by Mr. Butler.
So moved.
Second by Mr. Hallahan.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Motion to appoint Christina Richardson, instructional aide, effective date August 24th, 2020. Effective date of this. Terms are defined in the agreement with the Dunmore Educational Support Personnel Association. Motion by Mr. Cranick,
So moved.
second by Mr. Coleman.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Motion to appoint Megan Hart, personnel care assistant, attendant, effective date August 24th, 2020. Terms are defined in the agreement with the Dunmore Educational Support Personnel Association. Motion by Ms. Labasi,
So moved.
second by Mr. Suma.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Motion to accept the agreement with PCA Joanne Gasek for the 2020-2021 school year, if student attends in-person instruction. Motion by Mr. Morocco,
So moved.
second by Mr. Butler.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Motion to appoint or to accept the resignation of Cindy Perry, part-time LPN in the junior senior high school, effective immediately. Motion by Mr. Hallinan,
So moved.
second by Mr. Cranick.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Motion to appoint Kim Marquez, part-time LPN in the junior senior high school, effective immediately. Terms are defined in the Dunmore Educational Support Personnel Association. Motion by Mr. Coleman,
So moved.
second by Ms. Labasi.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. I think this will be the first time we have an LPN that has a five-time letterman in our school. She was a graduate with me. Motion to appoint the agreement with Penn Foster for the 2020-2021 school year. Motion by Mr. Suma,
So moved.
second by Mr. Morocco.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Federal programs B. Motion to amend the health and safety plan on isolation and quarantine following CDC guidelines. Motion by Mr. Butler,
So moved.
second by Mr. Hallinan.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Marichek, you want to comment on
I
this?
do. As part of the process with the reopening health and safety plan, this body has to approve any changes that take place, and then we submit it to Pennsylvania Department of Education. There was some changing guidance from CDC in terms of the waiting time for a fever. We're also adding that time ought to be without the aid of fever decreasing medicine. And we'll also have the athletic plan later, falls under the same criteria. And it's a bigger part of the overall health and safety reopening plan because the plan ran out before, the plan only ran until we were supposed to start practice. Now we have to plan from now until into the future, whatever. Correct.
Marichek, real quick, just so you can answer. Can you explain, I'm sorry, maybe I should have asked this earlier, in regards to, the athletics and all stuff. What is the PIAA coming out with Friday exactly?
I don't know if they're coming out. The last I read it, they're planning to go full speed ahead, play all sports. Now, they did back it up a little bit until this upcoming Monday with some of the schedules being put out there. Locally, our football schedule won't take place minimally until October 2nd, but some of our other sports could get going starting Monday. I can't predict what they're coming out with Friday. I don't have that knowledge.
Thank you. Motion, for education, to renew the ATSI plan for the 2020-21 school year, which is attached. Motion by Mr. Cranick,
So moved.
second by Mr. Coleman.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve an MOU for the Dunmore Federation of Teachers, and it's attached. Motion by Ms. Lavasi,
So
second by Mr. Suma.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Motion to amend the PK-12 athletics health and safety plan, which is also attached. Motion by Mr. Morocco,
So moved.
second by Mr. Butler.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Marichak, you wanna-
That again is that second part I just mentioned. It takes us from where we are today to where we'll go into the, at least into the next month, maybe a month and a half, in terms of our athletic plans. Again, there's a lot of questions out there. People, our kids are working hard, but the PIAA is doing something 180 degrees from what the governor and Secretary of Health are suggesting. So we're walking a tight line. I think that in some point to the future, this body will probably have to make a decision or discuss where we want to go with everything, all sports.
Under Education, motion F, without policies for the Title IX per federal regulations. Also can be viewed on the district website.
Let me just talk to President McHale. There was Secretary DeVos at the federal level in maybe August or so, June, put out some sweeping changes to the Title IX legislation that's out there, and this covers sexual and other harassments. And we couldn't attach it because it's that lengthy. It's on our website, and it'll be policy if the board so chooses. But this is sweeping changes, and it's for this upcoming school year moving forward. And Mrs. Noon, Kelly Noon, will be our Title IX coordinator.
And I believe there was a webinar the other day.
She was on the
Correct. Having read the motion by Mr. Butler,
So moved.
second by Mr. Hallinan. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve following payroll, 6/26/20, 7/10/20, 7/24/20, and 8/7/20. 6/26/20, $346,333.97. July 10th, 20, $330,801.30. 7/24/20, $326,971.15. And August 7th, 20, $341,396.83 for a total of $1,345,503.25. Motion by Mr. Crandall.
So moved.
Second by Mr. Coleman.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Motion to accept the treasurer's report for the month of June and July 2020. Motion by Ms. Lavasi,
moved.
second by Mr. Suma.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve payment for the list of bills of $989,652.27. Motion by Mr. Morocco,
So moved.
second by Mr. Butler.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Motion to accept the activities report for the months of June and July 2020. Motion by Mr. Hallinan. So moved. Second by Mr. Cranick.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Motion to accept the wage tax collector's report for the months of June and July 2020. Motion by Mr. Coleman.
So moved.
Second by Ms. Lavasi.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve the following school lunch prices and lunch policy for the 2020-2021 school year. Breakfast, $1.30. EEC lunch, $2.10. Middle school lunch, $2.55. Dunmore High School lunch, $2.55. Motion by Mr. Suma,
So moved.
second by Mr. Morocco.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ms. Lepaka, that's not a change from last year, that's just, it just hasn't been changed. Motion to accept the valuation of market value for the Dunmore School District as established by the State Tax Equalization Board for 2019. Motion by Mr. Hallinan.
So moved.
Second by Mr. Cran.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve the parent transportation contracts for the 2020-2021 school year, which is attached. Motion by Mr. Coleman.
So moved.
Second by Ms. Lavasi.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Motion to extend contract with GG Morocco Clean Right Company, Inc. for cleaning services for the DEC and junior senior high school at a cost of $340 per day to the DEC and $435 per day for the junior senior high school. Motion by Mr. Suma.
So moved.
Second by Mr. Morocco.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve an agreement with the Hailstone Economic LLC for the purpose of assisting with the Redevelopment Assistant Capital Program, RACP grant. The district will be invoiced at a rate of $125 per hour for designated work. Motion by Mr. Butler.
So moved.
Second by Mr. Hallinan.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Mr. Marichak, you discussed this a little bit the other day.
Yeah, in the last several years, we've been meeting with our local representation, both in the Senate, Senator Blake, and in the General Assembly, Representative Mullins. And we were looking for any ways possible to help us raise monies, funds, grant money for any large projects that could come our way. We're going to need a roof at the DEC. We have other things that need to be done. There's a window for this RACP grant that's open, and it came open kind of without notice for about 10 days, and it's way beyond the scope of anything we have in the district to fill out the application properly. And it's got to be for a project that's over $1 million, and it's got to be approached like we're going to spend our own money. But if we are approved down the road, we get half of the investment back systematically. So it's a great deal for the district, and we had to act quickly. This consultant was given to us from suggestion, and we're hoping that we don't have anything that we're planning to do right now. Long-range plans, you know, we're going to have some work that needs to be done. So it's to the district's benefit to get the application submitted, because as of now, the window has been closed.
Thank you, Mr. Marichak. We are at part of the meeting for new business. Any member of the board have new business? Mr. Hallinan.
Yes, I'd like to wish Mr. Marichak and his staff, his administrative staff, all the luck in the world. They did a tremendous job this summer putting these protocols together. I don't think the public really knows how much time was put in. Very tedious work. I know Mr. Marichak is going to be successful in this upcoming school year. I really do. I have a feeling that everything is going to work out. And John, I couldn't thank you anymore for what you've done. I mean, the taxpayers of this town should be appreciative also. You did a hell of a job again with you and your whole staff, and I wish you all the luck in the world that everything works out fine.
Appreciate it.
Any other new member or any member for new business?
I would also like to thank the elementary teachers and administrators that put together the video for the kindergartners. It was pretty cool to see this today when I was able to watch it. It's something that puts the parents a little more at ease, and it was very well put together. Even my son watched it, who's going into fifth, and he's like, oh, that's what the cafeteria is going to look like. So it really, I think, was great for them to be able to at least have a little picture of what their day will look like.
For our most important constituents. Anyone else for new business? Under President's report, I would like to echo Mr. Hallinan's thoughts and thank Mr. Marichak for his hard work. I've seen it firsthand in many meetings, and no detail went overlooked. And I get a lot of people that were very appreciative of everything you tried to do and trying to do in such a very difficult situation. I know you and your staff took this on as a very big challenge, something we've never seen before, and hopefully we will never see again. I wish I had a magic wand that we could be out of this by now, but it is what it is, and we'll do the best we can. And I know that's how we all feel. That's all I have under President's report. Mr. Marichak, Superintendent's report.
I am going to forego my superintendent's report. We're going to make a presentation. This was put together. I want to thank Mr. Mark Fine and the athletic department and the entire school district. Mr. Morocco, in recognition of your 25 years of service on the Dunmore football program, thank you for all your hard work, dedication, and years of service. We appreciate you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Well deserved.
You wish to make a big speech, Joe? or-
Now, like I said last one, I was a benefactor of all this. The kids were great, the coaches were great. People were great, the fans were great. We met a lot of nice people in 20-some years that I was here. And now they have kids and they're following their fathers and mothers' footsteps. So thank you so much for acknowledging me, but really, it's the kids that really deserve it. They're great. They're great. Like I said, say it again, Dunmore has the best kids. But thank you, everyone. I do appreciate it.
Big booster to the football team and to the school district.
Yeah, thank you.
And I think Coach McHale is going to allow you to call a few plays in one of the games this year. It's recognition. So.
Does he expect us to win then? But thank you, everyone. I appreciate it.
Accept the motion for the President's Superintendent's and new business report to be accepted and made part of the minutes of the meeting. Motion by Mr. Hallinan.
So moved.
Second by Mr. Crandall. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion to adjourn to meet in regular session or at the call of the chair. Motion by Mr. Coleman.
So moved.
Second by Ms. Labassa.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Jess. Great. Thank you.
I will, absolutely.